Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Lexa Peterson, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Commander Peter Bartholomews. We warmly welcome the family of Corporal John Hurst Edmondson, VC, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and in operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal John Hurst Edmondson, VC. John Edmondson was born on the 8th of October 1914 in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. Known as Jack, he was the only child of Joseph and Maud. While still a child, the family moved to a farm near Liverpool, southwest of Sydney. There, Jack attended Austral Public School and later continued his education at Hurlstone Agricultural High School in Sydney. He became a council member of the Liverpool Agricultural Society and acted as a steward at its shows. Jack served with the 4th Militia Battalion from March 1939 as war clouds loomed in Europe. Following the outbreak, he enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 20th of May 1940. Allotted to the 2nd 17th Infantry Battalion, Jack adapted well to the life of a soldier and was soon made acting corporal, the rank being confirmed later that year. Within months, the 2nd 17th was warned for overseas service. Jack and his mother Maud had always been close, and on his suggestion, she promised to keep a diary about happenings on the farm while he was away. The battalion embarked aboard the Queen Mary in Sydney on the 20th of October, and a few weeks later arrived in Palestine for further training. In March 1941, the Australians were part of an Allied advance that drove the Italian forces right across Cyrenaica, today's Libya. But the tables were suddenly turned with the intervention of Rommel's German Afrika Korps. Allied forces made a hasty retreat to the port town of Tobruk. The enemy soon had them surrounded, and what would become the famous 8-month siege began on April the 11th. 2 days later, the Germans probed the Australian defensive perimeter near post R33, a strong point garrisoned by Edmondson's platoon. Under cover of darkness, some 30 Germans infiltrated the barbed wire defences, bringing machine guns, mortars, and 2 light field guns. Lieutenant Austin McHell led Jack Edmondson's 6-man section in an attempt to repel the intruders. But as they charged the German position, Jack was badly wounded in the neck and stomach, but bravely went on. At the battle's climax, Jack defended his platoon commander against 2 German attackers, killing both. The Australians then pulled back to their post. Jack was in a bad way, but could not be evacuated due to continual heavy fighting. An hour later, some 200 German infantry attacked them and established a bridgehead on the defensive line. But the fierceness of the Australians' defence helped thwart the main attack. Ultimately, the attack failed, with the German tanks being mauled and forced to retreat with heavy casualties. Back in Australia at about the same time, Jack's mother Maud was ill at ease. She wrote in her diary, "I shall never forget today. It started off so badly. And to make it worse, Stuffy the cat had for some reason joined in. He came in and simply howled. The day before Jack left, he asked me to take great care of his pet. On Easter Monday, he wouldn't stop crying and worried me so much that eventually I couldn't stand it and put him outside. We never saw him again. We searched the paddocks all the next day." 4 days later, Jack's parents read in the paper of heavy fighting at Tobruk. It described a bayonet charge on Easter Sunday, in which an unnamed lieutenant and a corporal were prominent. Maud felt sure the corporal was Jack and sensed that all was not well with him. But the following Wednesday, she received a letter from her son. It was dated the 30th of March. Maud set about preparing a food parcel to send him. Then, on the Saturday, came the official telegram stating that Jack had been killed in action It was a terrible, shocking blow to his parents. Private Athol Dalziel was with Edmondson when he died. He later wrote to Maud, "As dawn came up, it began to get lighter. I knew, and Jack knew, that he was dying. It was then that he asked me to keep the writing case, and I said that I would keep it for him till he got out of hospital." His face broke into that wonderful grin of his, and he said, "No, Athol, thanks all the same for trying. I know hospitals are no good for me now. Give my love to my folks, old boy, and good luck." For his exceptional bravery and valour, Corporal Edmondson was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross. His parents received the news in early July. Maud stopped writing in her diary, but kept it along with newspaper clippings she collected in a scrapbook. Among them, a small cutting recounting the depth of her love for Jack. "Of course I am proud of him. I have always been proud of him. In a way, this great honour seems futile. I would rather have my son." Jack was buried at the Tobruk War Cemetery. He was 26 years old. Corporal Jack Edmondson was the first Australian to be awarded the Commonwealth's highest bravery award in the Second World War. Plaques, memorials, halls, schools and streets bore his name. It is also listed here on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal John Hurst Edmondson, VC, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years forget. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post-ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.